Okay, Article 7. Can you see this one? Can you see this one now? What do you see? Can you see the module I am showing? I'm scrolling it now. Can you see this one?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Okay. So Article 7 is executive. Okay, so remember the three branches. Okay, legislative, executive, and judiciary. Legislative makes the law, executive executes the law passed, while the other one, judiciary, interprets the law. Okay, so where is the power vested in the executive branch? It is in the president. Of course, you know the qualification of a president. Okay, it's in the section 2. Natural born citizen. Why? Because we want loyalty. Okay, to test the loyalty of the citizen is that it is presumed that they are loyal if they are natural born citizen, considering that they're born in the country. And then here, aside from the age qualification, which is 40 years old, compared to other um, positions, it only requires less than the president age requirement. So they have to stay in the Philippines for 10 years. The reason is that it is presumed that they know the problem in the Philippines if they are in Philippines for at least 10 years. Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, so if you are not natural born, or if you are staying in other country, although you are natural born, but you are living in other country, you are disqualified because there is a residency requirements of 10 years. So in case the president we'll proceed directly to the powers of the president. Okay, so there are successions here. Just in case the president will die, then the vice president will follow. So these are just a matter of reading. Okay, so similar rule also apply in case of vacancy, similar to senator as well. Okay, or the legislative branch. Now we go to the discussion. Others are just a matter of reading. Okay. Now we go to the powers. What are the powers of the president? Okay, we have executive. Number one is executive power, the power of administering and enforcing the laws. So when it's executive, the law passed by Congress, it will be executed or administered by the executive branch, including its departments. So what are the departments? It's in your fingertips, right? I keep on repeating this one, that it's easy to memorize 5 departments. It's in here, it's in your fingers, right? This one, Department of Education. Why? Because it points out, it teaches. Okay, and this one, Department of Justice, another branch of the government. Okay, why? Because when you commit a crime, you have to make a number to prove that it is you who committed the offense. So in crime scene also, they will know who are the theft by fingerprints. Like if you touch objects, there are fingerprints that will mark the object. So if the fingerprint matches your fingerprint, which is in the police file, then probably you are the theft. Okay, so that is Department of Justice. How about how about um how about this one? Okay, Department of Health. Why? Because it cleans your nose. Okay, and the other one, this one, Department of Finance. Why? Because when you count money, you put saliva in it, in this finger, and then you count money so that there will be no mistake. How about this one? Okay, that is Department of Interior and Local Government. So that you will be reminded of the 4 departments. So it's in your fingertips, but there are other departments. Just a reminder of what are the departments. There are many other departments. Okay, like DPWH, Department of Public Works
DOH.
and Highways, that makes the road. Okay, and take note, the different secretary or the cabinet member headed by the secretary is called the alter ego of the president. They also exercise similar power to the president. So they are the alter ego in case the president cannot exercise it. Then the judgment of the executive of the cabinet secretary or department, like the Fed secretary, is also the statement of the president. Okay, that whatever decision they had is considered to be a decision of the president unless the president revokes that decision. Now we go to other kind of other power of appointment. The president, with the consent of the commission on appointment, may appoint somebody to head any office. Okay, there are positions which requires an appointment of the president. Okay, but the appointee be must pass the consent of the commission on appointments. Okay, so there are lang, for example, like appointment of a colonel or naval ranks in the armed forces of the Philippines. Okay, as well as the secretary, appointments of the considered okay court, for example. Okay, even justices of the Supreme Court needs an approval of the president. Although the Judicial and Bar Council may nominate 3, then the president will just pick 1. So they nominate, the president will appoint only 1. Okay, so what are the steps in appointment? The nomination by the president, and then the commission on appointments confirms it, and then there will be a issuance of the commission. So after that, what about in the case of Lopez, Gina Lopez? Okay, she was appointed as the secretary of DNR, but the appointment was not approved by the commission appointment. What happened to her appointment? What will happen? Of course, again, there's a need for the commission on appointments, even if she is appointed by the president, but if the commission appointment will not approve it, then that will be rejected. Okay? So again, if it will be rejected, then the president will again nominate another until such time that the appointee will be qualified. Okay? So but what will happen to the services she rendered prior to the approval of the appointment? Then it is as if she acted with authority, meaning all the acts are valid. Okay? So is she entitled to the salary prior to the disapproval of the appointment? Yes, of course. Okay. So now we go to the third power of the president is power of removal. Those that he appointed will also be removed if they are not performing well, like they still have the record of corruption, then whoever he will be appointed will also be removed. Okay, so who can remove? Of course, the appointing authority. The fourth, we have power of control, the power of an office to alter, modify, nullify, and set aside what a substitute had done. Okay, so although there's different secretary, the alter ego of the president, or under the political agency rule or doctrine in which the act of the president is transferred to the different secretary. But whatever decision of the different secretary can also be nullified by the president. If the president doesn't like the decision of that secretary, then he may alter, modify, or nullify, or set aside what the substitute had done. Okay, alter, change it, modify, okay? Just a little tuning, fine tuning, and then nullify automatically. It's not effective, or set aside whatever decision they rendered. Then we go to another, the fifth, military power. Okay, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Philippines? It is the president. The Oh, show yourself. Okay, show your picture. I want to see your face. I want to see if you are still listening. Okay, if you are around. Do not um turn off your video. You turn on so that I can see you are attending my class. PJ, Nino, turn on. Mila Villamor, turn on. Okay. I will be scrolling your face every now and then to check if you are around. Okay. So that the secretary as well can check your attendance. Um, okay. Never mind if you don't comb your hair. Okay, that will not be counted. Looks doesn't matter. What matters is the substance. The substance is inside your brain. Okay. But when you sneeze, sometimes it get out that substance in a form of, you know what I mean. Oh, it's just a joke. Now let's proceed. Okay. So now military power. Okay, remember that. Pardoning power, the president may also give grace, exempting an individual from punishment provided by the law to an offense committed, okay, or may commute, okay. So, in fact, if the president, prior to the execution, when there was still death penalty, the president, prior to execution, which is normally 3 o'clock, because the announcement should be within the day. So, the announcement probably be 6 o'clock in the morning, and in in the afternoon, or the announcement should not be later than 8 hours. So if the president, if the Bureau of Jail and Management of Technology or Bureau of Corrections will announce to them that you will be executed within the day, it should be um, not later than 8 hours. So it will be announced in the morning, probably by 3 o'clock, you will be executed. But prior to that execution, the president may call. In fact, telephone before execution is always open for the president to grant pardon or suspend or even give commutation. Okay? So, or reprieve or amnesty. What do you mean by pardon? Exempting individual from the crime. Okay? If they committed an offense like a military, for example, I'm sure whoever commits, or if the military who committed an offense will be given pardon by the president. Can he do that? Yes. Okay. So even the police can still be pardoned by the president. So that's the power of the president. He can grant pardon or commutation is the reduction or mitigation of penalty. Instead of, let us say, 10 years, it will be probably 5 years. But there is a law now, I heard that those who will be punished for, I think, 6 months and above, 6 months below, instead of serving it in prison, they will be punished for community services. So it's a good law, so that no the prisoners or detainee will not be congested anymore in the jail. Okay, if they will not be congested, well, they can still be of service to the community. Now we go to another one, amnesty, an act of grace given to groups of individuals with political offenses. Okay, political offenses. Who are these criminals? These are the mga NPA, those who believe in other kinds of government, and they fight against our government, and the crime they committed may be given an amnesty. So you have to know that there's difference between a pardon and amnesty. Now we go to the limitation here is just a matter of reading. Okay, will not read it for you, but in your vacant time you have to read it. I presume in your vacant time you have read all this. Okay, so that every time we discuss it would be easier for you to catch and understand. Now, borrowing power. What is that borrowing power? The power of president to contract foreign loans. Okay, right now we have billions of loan due to pandemic. Our country was rated by the International Monetary Fund as higher now compared to the rating before. They credit it as, they label it as A if you are a good taxpayer, or if you are capable of paying the obligation, okay, or BB plus or B negative, okay. Now, some are still are not using the video. You use your video so that I can see you, or maybe when I mention that one, they are not around, so that's why they were not able to change the video. Next time, you take note, secretary, those who are not using their video. Okay, the presumption is that they are not around. Okay, that is a disputable presumption. Prove it otherwise. Okay, to prove that I'm wrong. Now, let's proceed. The borrowing power means the president can borrow money from other country. Okay, so the monetary board, through the Central Bank of the Philippines, who heads the monetary board, will recommend to the president for the borrowing of money. Okay, so in case um, we cannot fund the payment for the government employees, for example, the president can borrow money from other countries. Now we go to diplomatic power. President may enter into treaty. Okay, so no treaty shall be valid unless concurred by at least 2/3 of all the members of the Senate. Okay, so budgetary power, the president submit to Congress records budget within 30 days. So I explained um now at the opening of the session of the SONA every year, the president will submit a budget. Okay, so during the SONA is going to present what will be the budget, what will be the budget for each department. So the department now after that will prepare budget for the different departments, and then they're going to submit it, and it should be approved by supposedly before December or January, because the effectivity of the budget should be January 1. Okay. Now, we have the residual power. This is very common, and you should know this one. Residual power simply means that any other power, if will fall under residual power, is the power of the president which is not judicial and legislative is a residual power. This is very broad. In fact, when it is not yet, it cannot be defined as long as it is not against or it's not within the judicial and legislative. Then the president has the leeway, has a vast power, okay, and we call it as a residual power. Okay, so because you are the president, if you are presumed that what you are doing is valid as long as it is not judicial and not legislative in character, you can do it, and we call that power as residual power. Okay, there are many cases in which, and it is not yet defined, okay, in the law, but it is considered as a residual power. So remember that this is very familiar, okay, and common, and there are many issues now falling under residual power. If it is not judicial nor legislative, it may fall under a residual power. Now I go to Article 8. Probably this may only be you can understand this one if you only read in advance, but to explain in details in maybe 10 minutes discussing it, Okay, the judicial power is the power is vested in the Supreme Court and lower collegiate courts. So remember that case not only in the Supreme Court, it also includes the lower courts, starting from the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Court of Tax Appeals, which is of the same level, Regional Trial Court, and then lowest is the Municipal Trial Court or Municipal Circuit Trial Courts or Metropolitan Trial Court or Municipal Trial Court in cities. Okay, so there are 4 municipal trial courts, which is the lowest. Okay, in olden times, under the old rules of court, it is called the lower court, while the regional trial court is the higher court or the court of general jurisdiction. Okay, while the court of appeals is the intermediate collegiate courts, but now it's called court of appeals, regional trial court, and municipal trial court. So what is the composition of the Supreme Court? Composed of a Chief Justice and 14 Associate Justices. So how many all in all? There are 15. So they may sit en banc, meaning all of them, on cases, which I'm going to discuss later. What are those cases they're going to sit en banc, or by division of 3 or 5 or 7 members. Normally, they divide themselves into a division of 3. No, division of 5. A division of 5 composed of how many members? 3. Okay. Now, cases decided by the Supreme Court is only decided by 3 justices. Okay. If 2 is in favor, then that is a decision of the Supreme Court, because they always decide in majority. The majority of 3 is 2. Okay. So what are those cases that they're going to set in bank? Here. So one is constitutionality of a treaty, meaning all of them will decide, okay, international and executive agreement or law which shall be heard by the Supreme Court and bank. So remember that. What are those cases in which the court will sit and bank? And also those cases in which the penalty imposes death at the time when it was still effective. But now no more. There's no death penalty anymore. But in case of death penalty, the Supreme Court will sit in bank and they're going to decide, okay, whether death penalty shall be imposed. So the majority of 15 is 8. So with the 8 vote, which is already the majority, it may make or unmake you if you are the convicted. All other cases in which the rules of court are required to be heard in bank, including those involving constitutionality. Okay, so if you question the validity of, let us say, anti-terror bill, okay, that it's it doesn't define who are those terrorists, it may include you. Okay, so I have 10 more minutes, but your exam will be next meeting. Okay, so I'm going to finish this one, then we proceed. Next meeting will be your exam. Okay, so now, constitutionality, application or operation of presidential decrees, okay, whether the law passed by or sa presidential decree or issuance of the president is valid, or order or instruction is valid, then it will be decided by the Supreme Court sitting en banc. Okay. Now, cases on matters heard by the division shall be decided or resolved with the concurrence of the majority of the members who actually took part in the deliberation of the issue. So normally they decide in division. Okay. So those who took part may vote. So the majority of those who took part is binding already. And no case without the concurrence at least 3 of such members. When the required number is not obtained, the case shall be decided en banc. Okay. So in no case without the concurrence of at least 3 of its members. So provided that the doctrine and principle of law laid down by the court in a decision rendered en banc, a division may be modified or reversed except by the court sitting in banc. But the decision of that division may be modified or nullified, okay, by the division, by the court or by division, okay. So if they want to nullify the decision of the division, then they're going to set en banc, okay. Now, there are cases in which it may be the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction, meaning you can only file a case in the Supreme Court alone. One is certiorari, okay, when there is abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction. Prohibition, okay, prohibiting a performance of an act. Mandamus, compelling you to do an act. Quo warranto, as to question of who is the rightful office. And habeas corpus, for the release of prisoner who was detained for violation of a certain crime without warrant of arrest. Now, others are too technical. Okay, discussing this to you in details would mean enrolling in law school for 1 year. Okay, discussing it in details, it can consume 1 month. But just for as early as now, you have to understand the basic. So I may run out of time. I still have 6 more minutes. I'm going to finish the discussion here. So the appointment of the Supreme Court, the requirement that they must be natural born citizen. Okay, is there an age requirement? Okay, no age requirement, but they must be at least 40 years of age. Okay, and must have been in a private practice 15 years or more, and as a judge of a lower court, engaged in the practice of law in the Philippines. So you will not be qualified because the position is only for lawyers and judges. Now, so how are they appointed? The Judicial and Bar Council is composed of a chairman of the Chief Justice, okay, as an ex officio chairman, the Secretary of Justice, another person who's going to sit to choose a judge, and then a representative from Congress as an ex officio member, a representative of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines or group of lawyers, professor of law, and a retired member of the Supreme Court, and a representative of the private sector. So that is a composition of the Judicial Bar Council, which job is to select who will become judges or justice of the Supreme Court. They're going to submit 3, but the president will pick only 1. Now, the regular member of the council to be appointed by the president of course, that's for the term, so it may not be important anymore. Now, others are just a matter of reading. So, what is the age requirement? When are they going to retire? So, instead of retiring at the age of 65 for ordinary employees in government, compulsory, optional is 60. But in justices of the Supreme Court, the retirement age is 70. Okay. That may be now there may be a question of what are those cases in which the court can decide. So are all cases filed in court the court has jurisdiction? now by the, because there are maybe questions that are only political, only those just justiciable, or when it can be decided by the court. Others are political in nature, like appointment, that's political. So it is not the power of the court to decide. Okay. So there are number of months in which the court is going to decide. Okay, I'll stop sharing.